We appreciate you being here. My name is Dan Tomaszewski with Everything MSP. Hope you are all having a great day. And I've got my good friend here, David Gugic with MSP360. He is the VP of Product Management. And today we're going to talk about backup and IT management simplified with MSP360. And I'm very excited to have you here, David. We've got, it's December. The year is almost done.
Yeah, it is. It's been a long but a good year. I mean, at least with us, events had resumed somewhere around Q2, and so we just finished up our last event of the year last week. Actually, I'm visiting family, which is why I'm not in my studio with my normal equipment, and that's why I think I'm having all these technical issues. My mic is not working on my Logitech webcam. Zoom won't see the mic built into my laptop. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. The conspiracy. It says I should be vacationing and I'm sitting at the pool, but instead I'm doing a Zoom webcast.
There we go. Well, let's kick it off. Let's kick off this topic, and as anybody has questions as we go along, just feel free to throw them out there, and we will try to answer them as quick as possible. So.
Yeah, so I don't know. You could feel free to put in chat whether you're a customer now, familiar with their products, or you're here just to learn a little bit more about them. I kind of wanted to make this just a more about us end of the year presentation to tell you a little bit about the company, some new products we have in the portfolio, and to let you know what some new features we have in our managed backup product in case you are a customer or considering looking for a new solution if you're using something right now that's not a good fit for you. So I will try to get through everything within the allotted time, given the fact that we're starting 15 minutes late because of me. So let me just get started and kind of walk you through everything. So when we set out to design Managed Backup, which is the first product that we designed in our portfolio about a decade ago, we wanted it to be affordable, powerful, and easy to manage. And we designed it specifically for the MSP community. That's not to say that all of our customers are MSPs. We sell, retail priced version of the product for internal IT use. But we wanted it to be affordable because we want to be able to have MSPs make some money with our solution, because you're in the business of reselling software services to your customers, or you're competing with other MSPs in your area. We want to make sure that you can do all the things you need to do without having to overcharge your customers or pricing yourself out of competitive deals. So we'll talk about how we did that. Now, what do we back up? We back up just about everything you're going to need to back up. That's Windows and its desktop and server flavors, a variety of Linux distributions. Of course, we back up Mac OS because there's a ton of Macs out there. We do host level backups for VMware and Hyper-V, as well as on-prem applications like Microsoft's relational database, SQL Server, as well as Exchange, if you still have customers that are running Microsoft Exchange. Now, we also support hosted apps like Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. I believe those are the new names for Office 365 and Google G Suite. So we back up just about everything you need. We support file folder backup, obviously, because a lot of customers out there only really care about the files. They're backing up desktops. They generally don't care about the operating system. Even sometimes they're backing up file servers. They don't care about the OS in general. But for those customers that do want to back up entire operating system or prefer the convenience of just backing up entire volumes, we do support full image-based backup, as well as virtual machine host level backups. You don't have to worry about installing agents on each virtual machine. We can back up all of your VMs at the host level very easily. Now, we always say we don't back up for backup's sake. We back up so we can recover. So we try to make recovery as flexible as possible. It doesn't matter what kind of backup you're running. You can always restore files, folders from that backup. If you're doing full image backup, you can do bare metal restore, restore to virtual, or even restore into the cloud as something like an EC2 instance. Everything is very easy to manage. We're a SaaS offering, or maybe if you could actually read my shirt, a BaaS offering, backup as a service. So we host the central administration console. We host it in AWS for maximum uptime with our customers. We manage it so you don't have to. So there are no server components that you need to install either at the MSP or at your customers. All of the traffic and communication happens fully encrypted between the agents that you deploy to the endpoints that you're managing and the next part, which is really the cloud storage that you decide to use. Now, we know that backups become a must-have service. We know the concept of 3-2-1 backups is still alive and well, meaning that you should be keeping 2 backup copies, and one of those backups should be kept off-site. And really, the public cloud has become the best place to put those backups because it's low cost, it's scalable, it's durable, it's highly available, with the exception of some AWS outage that they had earlier in the week. But generally speaking, cloud services are measured downtime in hours over the course of the year. It's very easy for you to onboard new customers that need a lot of capacity for storage without having to worry about, running your own data center and provisioning that storage in advance, and all the capital expenditures that come with buying the hard drives and the rack space and the cooling and everything else that needs to happen when you're running your own data center. So we integrate with all these public cloud storage options. You see them rolled up on the right side. So Amazon's AWS, Wasabi, Backblaze B2, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. We do support S3 compatible, and of course local backups if you want to do things like backups to local storage or a NAS or something like that. So the idea is that you open up public cloud storage accounts with any of the vendors that fit the need for your business and your customers, and you can tailor your backup services for your customers of any size and need while still generating, maximum profit. Now, we did introduce a new backup format, as we call it. So if you're already using the product, you're interested to see kind of what's new. We call it the new backup format. It's not a very fancy name, but it's just a new option for backing up. You can still use the legacy backup formats, which has been around for a long time and will continue to support. But the new backup format does support a few important new features that I wanted to let everybody know about. Faster backups and restores, especially for file backups where you're backing up tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of files. We use an archive style format, so rather than a one-to-one where each file becomes a cloud object, we bundle a bunch of files together and send them up in bulk, which can reduce the I/O and reduce the I/O latency and all of that with the cloud storage vendors considerably for backups and also for restores. The new backup format supports client-side deduplication. So when you're doing backups and you're backing up the same data over and over again, we can do deduplication at the client side in order to facilitate faster backups and moving less data up into the cloud. All backup types, file, image, and virtual machine now support synthetic full backup. So when you're ready to run a new full backup on your data, we can use the incremental data that's already up in the cloud to reconstruct a new full backup. It's one of the advantages of using the public cloud. It's not just dumb storage. There's an intelligence behind it. There are APIs behind it. So we can instruct the cloud to create a brand new full backup for you without the need to back up all that data over again. We also support things like new style retention. We call it GFS. That's sort of a grandfather, father, son style retention where you can keep more recent backups, more versions of them for more granular restores. And then as backup data gets older and older, you can keep backups for longer without keeping as many generations. So you can do things like keep 4 weeks worth of weekly backups, keep 6 months of monthly backups, keep 3 annual backups. That allows you to keep data for a longer period of time without worrying about, having to keep, say, 500 versions of your files and things like that. So very easy to do. There's built-in consistency checks. So now we will check to make sure that all of the data that's in the cloud is the data that's supposed to be there. CRCs check out, that type of thing. So you can rest assured that you can restore that data. Restore verification is built in for image backup. So if you want to run restore verification, we will create a Hyper-V VM using just really a small portion of the image-based backup data. We will boot that VM, screenshot it so you can see that it actually booted, so you can have some assurance that when it comes time to need to restore that image backup, that it will restore properly. As well as some new immutability options that I want to talk about. So if you're worried about things like ransomware or really a bad actor at your business getting into your cloud storage and deleting your backups, which is a concern these days for everyone, especially MSPs, because you're in charge of managing tens, hundreds, or even thousands of different customers out there and all their backup data. We do have new write once, read many, worm support or immutable storage support with Amazon S3 and Wasabi that will lock the data down according to the GFS settings that you have for the backup. So that will prevent, somebody going in there and deleting your backups. Now, we do know that some customers out. Yep, go ahead, Dan.
Just some awesome new features that you guys have built in, and I mean, it's just killer. I'm hearing some of this for the first time, and I'm loving what I'm hearing, and there are a couple questions in regards to immutability, and let me go to that one. This is from Mina. Mina has wanting to learn more about changes, how they affect moving forward with GFS and immutability and BCDR. Maybe examples to documentation.
Yeah, I'll do a demo of where the immutability is and how it works, but it's mostly a behind the scenes thing once it's set up, so you don't really have to worry about it, but I could talk about that when we get to the demo.
Yeah, definitely. And there are two other questions. One is, why do we even need backup for M365 and Google Workspace, just providing that they have archiving solutions? That's a
It's a good question. I mean, there is sort of I'll call it a misconception. I just say it like I believe it. Just because data is in the cloud doesn't mean it doesn't need to be backed up. And while there may be some snapshot capabilities or some temporary delete file retention with respect to, say your files in OneDrive and stuff like that, that data, just because it's in the cloud, it needs to be backed up as well. And what you can do with us is, if you're using something like Microsoft 365 and you want to back up that data and move it to AWS or Wasabi, we can support that to get it out of the Microsoft cloud. Same thing with Google's Workspace. If you want to move the data out of the Google cloud and back it up somewhere else, that way you don't run the risk of losing everything if there's some kind of major destructive data loss that's going on over at Google. You can do that. So data in the cloud isn't completely safe. Somebody could go in and just delete files out of their OneDrive accidentally, and then call you up as an MSP 6 months later and say, I deleted these files by accident and I need them restored. Can you get them back? And if you're not running backups, that data will be gone. So obviously, you're going to have to decide as an MSP whether or not it's a service you want to offer your customers. Generally speaking, Microsoft 365 and Workspace backups are far less expensive. They're priced per user. You can usually get them, close to $1 per month per user. And you can certainly speak to our account managers for the current specials that we're running with that service. But you leave it up to you. Not everybody backs up Office 365 and hosted apps like them, but we always think it's a good idea. And there's certainly a lot of competitors out there that do the backups like we do, and I think for that reason it's probably worth looking into. And certainly another service you can sell your customers, because you never want to be in a position where somebody asks you to restore some data and you say, I can't restore it because we weren't backing up your Microsoft 365 data, and it's lost, because in all likelihood, that will end up with a loss of a customer.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I don't know if it's you want to jump into this now, or maybe you will jump into this a little bit later regarding Wasabi. There were a couple questions from two different people that were asking about how MSP360 works together with Wasabi. So whether you want to jump into that now.
Wasabi is a great storage vendor out there. They're much lower cost. They're not only in Europe now, but they've opened data centers in Japan recently. So they're becoming a global presence in terms of cloud storage. Their costs are very low. In the US, they're $5.99 per terabyte, which is fairly low. There's no data egress or API charges. There are retention requirements, and I might as well just start talk about those last two bullets on the screen right now. For those MSPs out there that would like the simplicity of a single bill and would prefer not to get a bill from us for backup licenses and a separate bill from, say, Wasabi or AWS for storage use, we can resell those services now to our customers at exactly the same price that you would pay for it through those vendors directly. So you get the convenience of paying the same price with actually some benefits. So in the Wasabi side, there's only a 30-day retention requirement. If you open your account with Wasabi, most customers will require a 90-day retention. That may or may not be an issue for you if you're keeping data longer than 90 days, but if you find you're deleting some backup data before the 90 days, you may end up with early delete charges with the Wasabi account directly. With us, it's only a 30-day. And if you decide that you prefer to use something like AWS's S3 standard storage, we'll resell it to you at the lowest price that they sell it for in the US, which is $23 per terabyte. but there will be no data egress or API charges. So we will assume those charges for you on your behalf, so you can manage your cash flow a little more easily if you do need to use AWS and find the benefits of that service, something you need.
Awesome.
But I'll talk about Wasabi when I do the demo.
Perfect.
But Wasabi is an S3 compatible cloud. So back in the day, Amazon released the S3 API as an open API in the hopes that other cloud storage vendors would use the API. And many have. Backblaze B2 now has an S3 compatible API option. Wasabi has always been S3 compatible. Obviously, Amazon, with all of their storage classes, are S3 compatible. And not unsurprisingly, Microsoft and Google are not S3 compatible. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So it's an open API. It's a standard out there. So it's easy for us to integrate with Wasabi. So I want to just talk very quickly just about profit margins and how much money you can actually make with us. And it's not unusual to make somewhere in the 3 to 5 times what you're spending with us and for the storage as profit. And let's talk about kind of like a real example here of a customer of ours who has 750 endpoints and servers, so 500 desktops, 250 servers. Our licenses start at $5 per month for desktops. They're 10 for servers. That's before discounts. Our discounts at MSP360 are dollar-based, meaning every new dollar you spend with us, the discount goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And I don't know where it tops out, but it's somewhere around 40% or something like that, maybe closer to 50%. On average, this customer is spending $3.20 per license per month. So that's after discount averaged across the servers and the desktops. And they're managing over 200 terabytes worth of backup data across all of those devices. They're using Wasabi, so they're spending $6 per terabyte, or the very low cost of 59/100ths of 1 US cent per gigabyte, so low cost. They sell their backup services to their customers at $10 per month for endpoints, that's desktops, and they throw in 100 gigabytes of free storage. They charge $25 per servers because servers are more expensive. They throw in 250 gigabytes free, and anything on top of that, that's over that kind of collected free included amount, they charge 6 cents per gigabyte. So 6 cents per gigabyte is still very low cost. I talked to a customer just last week at a conference who was buying a backup services from one of our competitors, and they were charging him, the MSP, for private cloud storage, 50 cents per gigabyte. I feel like that was a bit of a joke. Like they almost didn't want him as a customer because that's much higher than most of our competitors. But it's not unusual to spend, 15, 20, 25 cents per gigabyte for private cloud storage. And then you have to mark it up, right, with your customers to make some money. So here, even selling it at 6 cents per gigabyte, which is super cheap, that's a 10x markup over what you're paying. So you can look at the blue line, that's the out-of-pocket cost for the MSP, that's for the licenses and the Wasabi storage, it's about $3,600 per month. But the revenue that they bring in with this model is over $17,000. So they're bringing in roughly 5 times what they're spending. And that is pretty conservative, pricing. If you're working in Manhattan or you're dealing with, law firms and CPA firms and financial customers who are clearly going to be paying more for managed services than say mom and pop shops or certain types of businesses in other parts of the country, then you're going to have the opportunity to price accordingly for those customers and generate potentially even more profit with it. So very easy to make money with us. I mentioned, are there any questions that we need to address, Dan?
Yeah, let me take a look. We just make sure we haven't missed any. There is a question from Mina that says, what is the best way to set up consistency checks that is not already automatically scheduled?
So I'll show you the consistency checks when I do the demo because they're more or less built in right now with the new backup format. So that's you're going to get it by default, and there's no way to turn it off. But there's a way to make it a little more extensive with an option. So I'll show that to you. But before I get there, I want to tell everybody on the webinar a little bit more about what's in our portfolio now, since we've expanded the portfolio quite a bit this year. So we had been developing for some time and had a release last year, but only started selling it a few months ago, our new secure remote desktop solution. So when you need to get on a remote system, when you can't do what you need to say, through your RMM product, and that's not possible. You need to actually remote in. Almost everybody we talk to is using some type of remote desktop solution. It's probably, if you're not using us, it's probably one of our competitors like ConnectWise Control or Splashtop or TeamViewer or something like that. We developed this solution in-house from scratch, so it's all custom written by us. It's not, licensed from somebody else. We are currently providing secure remote access to remote Windows systems. You can connect from Windows, Mac systems, iOS, or an Android. We will have the ability to remote into remote Mac systems coming in early Q1. Everything is fully managed from the administration console that we run. You do not need to be a managed backup customer to use our managed remote desktop. So you can use managed remote desktop. We sort of have a scaled down management console for that. So everything can be fully organized by your customers and all the endpoints that are under management with a single click way to then connect to them. You can connect interactively, or if you need to do like help desk, show an end user how to perform something, how to use a piece of software. You can do unattended access if you need to do administration when nobody is on the remote system. Everything is fully AES 256 encrypted. And it's low cost. So we decided to price it not per device that's under management. We price it per technician with unlimited endpoints. It starts at only $35 a month. There may be specials running right now. So if you're interested in trying it or seeing what our end of year pricing is, definitely talk to an account manager. So for $35 per technician per month, if you have 2 technicians, you're paying $70 per month, and you can access any of your remote systems awesome. that you need to.
Yeah.
So pretty makes sense. So here's a list of features that we support. As I mentioned, attended access, interactive, everything's secure. There's voice and text chat. There's a new black screen option. If you have to perform some type of administrative functions and you don't want the end user to see it, that is available. You can turn that on interactively if you need to do something. Everything's behind 2FA. If you want to use 2FA, we recommend you use 2FA. It's built into our management console. So we use Google and Microsoft Authenticator for the 2FA currently. File transfer support. You can record sessions if you need to. Multi-monitor support, all that stuff. So you can do all that great stuff. Now, for those of you who are looking for an RMM solution, this is something we have been working on for a while. We just released it recently. This is sort of our initial release, or maybe a 1.1 release now. There's been two releases out for it, of a homegrown RMM solution that we wanted to release early. So you'll have to decide whether or not the functions that are in it, and there are quite a bit, are going to be sufficient for you. But let's talk about what it can do now. I can tell you that there's a rich roadmap out there. It's going to be expanding functionality quite quickly, actually, over the coming year and two. So this is a new RMM solution that allows you to, manage endpoints so you can complete the work that shows up, say, through help desk tickets, or even find work, through alerts and things like that. It'll help you monitor all the endpoints interactively with some automated alerting as well. It includes the Managed Remote Desktop product that we just talked about. And again, it's priced by technician for $59 per month, and that includes Remote Desktop. So you get an RMM solution and Remote Desktop that you can use across all of the endpoints that are under management at your MSP for only $59 a month. And there may be a special running on that as well. So some of the things we can do right now. Say that again, Dan, sorry.
Yeah, definitely affordable. And there is one question just want to throw out there is Mina wants to know how it's deployed.
So if you're talking about I'll show you during the demo, but at a very high level, you can get the agents out there a few different ways. For managed backup, you can do an interactive install. It takes about 20 seconds. You can do a silent MSI if you want to script it. You can push it out through Active Directory or through PowerShell using your RMM product. There's a lot of ways to get the agent out there the first time. Once the agent is out there, it's fully managed by you. You don't ever have to do another install. You decide when a new version is available, when you want to make it available to your customers, and the agents will auto upgrade themselves. If managed backup is already deployed, then deploying RMM is a single click from the management interface. So you just click install RMM on the endpoint, and it'll go ahead and install. And managed remote desktops is a little bit different. but I can show you how to do that when we get to the demo. So I just want to just throw up this really annoying slide with a lot of bullets just to show you the kind of things that we can do right now. I'm not a big fan of a lot of bullets, and a lot of these slides have a lot of bullets, so my bad. But we do a lot with the RMM product, and like I said, we're going to be doing a lot more in the coming year. So we do real-time alerts for, like, CPU and low disk or antivirus offline type things. You can see all your system information, get real-time metrics, see running processes, stop them if needed, see all your running services on the remote system, what software is installed, do patch management at the endpoint level, meaning that if there's a patch out for a particular endpoint, you can kick that off from the RMM tool. You can see hardware and drive information, including smart status, printer scanners, antivirus management. If you're connecting to a Hyper-V host, you can start and stop VMs right from RMM. You can review and edit the registry, as well as run PowerShell scripts on the remote host or do batch PowerShell scripting across multiple endpoints. So if you want to do something like, say, a print nightmare remediation, that was Microsoft's issue with their print spooler a few months back, and you wanted to disable the print spooler across multiple endpoints very easily, you could easily create a PowerShell script that stopped the print spooler, set the service to disabled or manual, and deploy that across multiple endpoints just to make sure it's off. So pretty easy. So let's, I think we're going to get to the demo. Let me just run into it. We have 20 minutes left, so I think we're okay on time. I know I'm speaking quickly.
Like I say, what you guys have introduced here, it really correlates and connects with the name MSP360, right? Gives you that 360. Yeah. That's awesome. I love it.
Yes, we are coming full circle, actually. That is true. Yeah. Not to be confused with 365 products like Microsoft 365.
Right.
Yes, we wanted to expand the portfolio. We've always wanted to expand the portfolio, but Managed Backup was such a successful product for us, and we had just such a rich roadmap with it that, work on that continued, and we did concentrate on that product for a long time. But we've known for a few years now that we need to build out and introduce some new products into the portfolio. And we've done that now with the remote desktop product as well as our RMM. And I think you'll see things expand even further come 2022. So stay tuned. So this is our management interface, very easy to use. There was a question about how to do the setup, how to do the integration. Let's just go to storage and storage accounts so you can see very quickly how to create a new storage account. So to integrate is very easy. Click Add Storage. You can select what type of storage you want to integrate. If you're integrating Wasabi, you would come in here and type in display name and your security credentials. If you don't know where to get your access secret key from, we have online help that you can get to for every cloud storage vendor that'll walk you through not only how to sign up with the service, but where to get the security keys. If you're interested in using our integrated Wasabi or S3 storage, you would pick one of these two options down here. And obviously, if you can integrate with something like Amazon S3 through your own account or through maybe a customer's account of yours that you have, you can click that option and you can connect through a variety of different ways, IAM roles or access key, secret key. If you need to integrate with GovCloud because you're working with the US government, you can do it that way. Once that's done, then you need to create at least one backup destination. And a backup destination is, you can just think of it as a bucket in the region where you want to create it. So you just create a new bucket. I'm not going to create it now, but I just want to show you that I'm connected to AWS right now. You can see you have access to all their global regions. So let's say you are in the Northeast and you want to use the US East region, you would pick that. If you wanted to allow immutability, because I know there was a question about that, you will need to create a new bucket to allow immutability. So if you're using an existing storage destination and you're not using it with the immutability option yet, you will have to create a new immutable bucket. That's because we need to turn on versioning on the bucket in order to enable the immutability function within Amazon. And that requires that there's no data in the bucket. So you'll have to create a new one. So you would just check that off and then go ahead and create the bucket. And then it'll show up as a storage destination. Very easy to set up here. There's a two-part process. I'm not going to go into huge detail since I do these demos every week, but you're going to keep track of all your customers here. We call them companies. You will type in a friendly name, and then mostly what you need to do is tell it which of those backup destinations that you've created this customer can have access to. You can put all your customers in the same backup destination. They cannot see each other's data. There's no worry about that. So you can use the same buckets for all of your customers in, say, the Northeast, and maybe a different bucket if you have customers in the central region or the West Coast if you're using AWS. However you want to set it up, whatever is easier. So you create your customer, and then you create what I call a service account. We call them users here. This user account is just how the agent will authenticate with the service so we know they belong to that particular customer of yours. And they don't have to be an actual person. I don't think of them that way. So I just gave it a username of IDI demo. There's a password that's created that you can type in, a custom password. You don't need to remember the password. You should log it somewhere in your credential database, but you don't need to remember it if you do the assignment of the service account within the management interface. You're already logged in, preferably behind 2FA as well. So because you're already in the management service, we're not going to prompt you for those passwords again. And you can see here, down here in the company, I've assigned it to the intrinsic design demo company that I created. So that's all you need to do. Now, I mentioned that you have to get the agents out there the first time. You do that from the download tab. A couple things to point out here. When there's a new version of an agent available, you'll see it in, clicking around by accident. You'll see it in green. So if you look over to the right under the virtual machine edition, you'll see that there's a newer version 7.3 available. If you click the update sandbox, it will put the build into a sandbox. So sandbox is just a place for you, the MSP, to test a new agent version that's out. So if you want to test something in your labs before you roll it out to your customers, make sure it fixes the problem you've been having, or you're going to get comfortable with the new feature before you make it available to your customers, go ahead and do that. Put it in the sandbox. You can download it from the sandbox, install it on a test system, play with it, or if you can turn off the sandbox or not use it at all. When you are ready, though, anything that's in the sandbox, once you click the Make Public button, it will publish a new version of that agent for all of the endpoints that are under your management that use that particular agent. And it will update, those agents will upgrade themselves. Now, I mentioned the very first time you need to get the agent out there. You can do an interactive install if you're on site or using something like a remote desktop product. You can copy a link to it and send it out to, if you have a tech person on site, because it's a customer that has an IT team, you could give that to them and tell them to use that link to do the install. You can generate a PowerShell script. Like I said, you can deploy it through your RMM product very easily if needed. You can do silent MSI installs. You could deploy it through Active Directory. Whatever you need, if you come up with a way you want to deploy it, you can't find help documentation, our team of solution architects and the onboarding team will be more than happy to assist you. Like I said, once the agent's out there, you click Make Public, and then that agent will automatically upgrade itself. You don't ever have to touch it again. Now, you do need to do the assignment, though. I mentioned that you're not going to have to remember these passwords, so go away, Zoom. I'm trying to get the screen to hide. Go away. It won't hide. So let me get out of full screen here. Go away, Zoom. So come up to RMM and go to Remote Management. I know there's an auto hide here that I can't find. Anyway, come to Remote Management, and the first time you come in, if you have an agent that's been deployed that is not assigned yet to that service account and customer, there'll be just a little option here to click a button and select the customer from the list. Very easy. And if a license is not applied yet, you would come over here to this section that I have highlighted and just pick the type of license you want. If you're on Mac, it's going to be a single type of license. If you're on Windows, you have a few different options depending if you're on a desktop, a server, or you need things like SQL Server Exchange support. So you just assign the license, and at that point, you can go ahead and start creating your backup plans. Now, you can create backup plans very easily on the endpoint itself, or you can do backup plans at the group level through our remote deploy. But given that we're a little short on time, I'm going to walk through just a single backup that I've already created here using the new backup format. So let's walk through that since many of you on the call might be familiar with our legacy format. Give it a friendly name. say where you want to do where you want things to back up to. You selected those storage accounts and assigned them to the customer, so any of those would be available. Depending on the storage account you select, for example, S3 in this case, you may get some additional options like what storage class you want to back up to. I'm going to back up to S3 standard. Everything else you can leave as the default. Those are VSS options. Right now, I'm just backing up the C users folder. I'm backing up basically all the user data, so very easy. But if you want to exclude certain folders, you can certainly do that as well. Here's where you could filter out things like, you know, if you don't want to back up data that's older than 3 years, or you want to skip hidden in system files, you can check those options. Compression and encryption, turn them on, right? Not everything compresses, but it's a high efficiency compressor, and it's not unusual to get, you know, a minimum of 20% on your backup compression, but you can get far better than that for certain types of files. So it's always a good idea to turn it on. The better the compression, the less data we have to encrypt, the less data is being sent over the wire to your storage, the lower the storage costs will be. So enable compression, enable encryption. Remember your encryption passkeys, because we will not keep them for you. You're going to need to remember them if you do need to restore. So there was a question about consistency checking. By default, this is going to be checked like this, full consistency checks. That means every generation of the backups that are out there are going to be checked to make sure that they match what is needed to do a restore. If you're only interested in checking, you know, the current backup set, that means the full and the incrementals that apply to the current backup set, you can uncheck that. Generally speaking, though, the consistency checks are very efficient because, as I mentioned earlier, especially with file folder backups, we are archiving the files together in larger objects. And because of that, we don't have to do a lot of checking on the cloud storage. But if you only want to check the current backup set, uncheck that. If you want to check all backup sets, leave it checked. This is where you do your scheduling. So let's say I want to do I want to run daily incremental backups, and I'm going to run them, say, at midnight. And then I'm going to execute a full backup, say, monthly on the first, say, the first Saturday of every month. That's what I want to do it. Then I'm going to come to the next page where I'm going to select here how much data I want to keep, right? This is just for the current incremental data. This is separate from GFS, have to be enabled. So if you had a very simple need just to keep a month's worth of backups, you could just select it like this, and you're doing a new full every month, and we'll keep all your backups and to ensure that you have a month's worth of restoring, and then we'll delete anything that's older. If you do want to keep generational copies, or you're going to use immutability, which requires GFS, then you'll have to say down here what you want to keep. So here, as this example, I'm going to keep monthly backups for 6 months, and I'm going to keep annual backups for 2 years, and then I'll keep everything for the current month because I'm keeping all the incrementals from this section up here. If I want to enable immutability on these GFS backup sets, I would check this. You'll have to confirm it. We currently use, I think it's called governance mode, which means that nobody can delete the backups except for the global root administrator on, say, your AWS account, if you're using AWS, or it's supported with Wasabi as well. We will support at some point the other type of mode, which means nobody can delete it, but that's sort of a risk for the MSP, so we didn't want to introduce that right away. You will have the ability to delete backups yourself if you control the account and you have access to the root user, if you need to. So let's say a customer fires you and they have 2 terabytes worth of backups and you're not going to keep them longer than 30 days. You will have the ability to get rid of them if you use the root account, but no other accounts will be able to get rid of those backups. They will be locked down using the immutability features of, say, Amazon. And then you'll run the backups. Yeah.
One question. So if you currently have MSP360 running on an account, the legacy version, and you're going to want to switch over to the new platform, are you starting over, or is it?
You're going to have to create a brand new backup plan, and it'll back everything up fresh. So you do have to do that. Now you can disable the backup plan, the legacy one, and let's say you want to keep it around, all that backup data for 1 year, you just make a note in your calendar to go in and delete those backups in a year's time. That's the best way to do it. Now, you may or may not want to use the new backup format for everything. I definitely think it's highly recommended that you use it for image backups and virtual machine backups. There's change block tracking built in with image backups, so we know exactly what's changed on disk, as well as virtual machines. There's the synthetic full backups, which is hugely important because it makes creating a new full very fast. If you're happy, though, with the version-based retention of the legacy format, continue to use it. But if there's something you want to see, if there's a feature you need with the new backup format, you need things like immutability, or you prefer GFS-style retention, you can switch to it, but you'll have to create a new backup plan.
Perfect. And the other
and
question
then I see there's another question from Anonymous about password managers. We do not integrate with any password managers currently. That may change in the future. So currently, you'll have to use whatever credential database or credential management system that works for you. Now, I personally like something like, for me, as a you know, let's say a small business owner or a personal user, I like KeePass, but there's a lot of online options. There's a ton of services out there available through our competitors, as well as, you know, password management companies like OnePass, LastPass. So there's a lot of options out there for MSP. So we do not have any integration currently. So that's something that may change in the future, but, you know, continue to use what you're doing or look for a good solution that works for you.
One other question here from Nathan is, can we back up locally to a NAS and then have MSP360 upload to the cloud? Thinking about RTO.
Hybrid support is not yet available in the new backup format, but if you use the legacy format, which as I mentioned is not going away, you can select a hybrid backup and we will back up locally and then move that local data to the cloud automatically in a single pass.
Perfect. All right, I think that answers those questions right now.
All right, let me just show you real quickly. I can't show you remote desktop because, as I mentioned, I'm on vacation and I only have a single PC to connect to, but this is where you would do the connection. You would just click that connect dialog, and then you could do an interactive or an unattended session. If it's an unattended session, you'd get the option just to log into the Windows system. If you're going to do an interactive session, then the end user, if they're there, they're going to get a little code that they can give you, and you can type it in and join their session. It's very easy. On the RMM side, however, I can demo that for you. So the RMM, it's very easy to use. It's a one-click install. If it's not, as I mentioned, you can see things like Task Manager, running processes if you need, or maybe not. See how quickly they load up, as they do. Installed software. I'll just wait for this to load. Hopefully it will load sooner rather than later and not bother me. All right, well, I'll come back to it. So installed software, as I mentioned, you can do patch management on the endpoint level. There isn't patch management yet available across, you know, multiple endpoints, but that's coming. Hardware information, hard drive, smart information, all that good stuff. Anything that you can change, however, you can review the registry if needed. But if you are going to, I apologize, it's being a little uncooperative right now. But anyway, if you do need to make any changes to the, if I need to make a change, I'm going to get prompted to, if I want to add a key or something like that, I'm going to get it prompted for 2FA, assuming.
Okay, nice.
So anytime you're going to make a change, before that change is made, there'll be a 2FA prompt, and that includes PowerShell access as well. So if I go here to PowerShell, I'm going to have to do a 2FA, which I can use since I'm using Google Authenticator. Let me type in my 2FA code. And then I'll have access right to, you know, the PowerShell interface right here, where I can do some PowerShell work. You know, right from here, I can blast it out if I want a bigger screen. And then I did mention you can do group execute. So if you do want to deploy a PowerShell script from up here, there's on this little group button, there's an RMM group action option. Since I'm only on a single PC right now, you only see one computer, but You can pick all the endpoints you want to deploy to, load up the PowerShell script, and then see all of the deployment results in real time, as well as get a full log file of everything that was deployed and whether or not it was successful. So it's very easy to deploy or install software if you need to through PowerShell using the remote deploy here.
That's awesome.
I think that's mostly what I want to show. As I mentioned, once things are set up, I consider this a set it and forget it. So you're not only going to come in here when you need to do an investigation of, say, a backup failure for some reason, do some remediation, or if you need to come in and do a restore for an end user, you can come in. There's very little reason for you to ever have to access the endpoint directly. And in fact, let me just show you this because I think this is important. So if I come to settings general, two things I want to show you since they're security related. At the bottom of settings, I encourage you to enable the remote access force two-factor authentication for all administrators. There is the concept of the master administrator as well as sub-administrators here under the organization. These would be all your technicians that are logging in to do things. You can set up as many sub-admins as you want, and you can not only give them access to do specific things within the management interface, because maybe you don't want them buying new licenses. Maybe you want them only managing a certain set of companies, customers of yours. You can do that. You can decide what functionality they should have access to. But if you want to force them to use 2FA to make sure that you're being compliant and you're acting in the safest way from a security posture perspective, turn on that 2FA option. The other thing I want to show you is under settings, under global agent options. By default, the backup agents would be disabled, meaning not that they can't run, but that you will not be able to run the agent on a remote system. There's usually very little reason to have it available. You don't want somebody to get into it and do something with it that's not an administrator. You can certainly dial in specific access for what they can do, like enable backup plan edit or enable certain features or allow the ability to delete from the user interface if you ever do need to turn it on. And the other thing I'll mention is I mentioned remote deploy, so remote deploy group actions, and then I'm just going to stop there because we are running out of time. But I want to edit this configuration to show you that if you do use group deploy, it can not only be for backup plans as default backup plans, but it can be for settings as well. And I want to mention the settings part because there's a way for you to lock down the agents with a master password, as well as protecting the CLI. This is the command line interface with the master password. Two very important options to have the CLI in particular protected should some malware be created that tries to access the CLI against your wishes. So definitely turn those options on. So where should you go next as we wrap up here? Well, we do more than backup now. So head over to MSP360.com. You can read about all our solutions. You can always schedule a personalized demo if there's something that you didn't see on this call that you want to see. We have a whole team of people out there who are there to help you from a pre-sales perspective, figure out not only if we're the right solution for you, but to show you what you need. So take advantage of them. Get a quote, start a trial, no credit card needed. We'll give you a terabyte of space to play with in AWS for testing, so you don't need to even have a cloud storage account yet in order to use the service. Get a quote, ask about the specials. And if you're using a solution right now that is not working out for you, you've outgrown it, or it's just you're having problems with it and you want help onboarding customers, if you decide to move to us, we do have an onboarding services and a whole team available to help you move your customers off of the old system and onto MSP360, as well as premium support options for those of you that need 24/7 support. So head over there, head over to MSP University as well, which is free resources that we have available for MSPs out there. That's all I have. So Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. Happy holidays, Happy New Year.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't want to, just make sure everybody understands that the MSP University, MSP360 University is amazing. If you haven't been there, check it out. They have put together an amazing amount of resources available for MSPs. If you were to add up how much it would cost to put this together on your own, it would just be an enormous amount of money. They just hats off to MSP360 for putting the university together. So I think we are done with questions. We've answered a lot of questions
I
throughout.
could stay on another minute if anybody thinks of anything. If not, I want to thank everybody for coming today. We will see you next year with some more exciting product announcements, which I can't speak of now, but I know should be pretty exciting. So
awesome stuff. David, thank you very much for your time, especially being on vacation. I hope you have good time on vacation. I hope you're someplace warm, maybe, you know.
I'm in Florida.
Yes.
So it is warm.
That is awesome.
Of course, I just came from California on an event, and it was cold in LA.
Was it?
Like, you know, it was in the 50s at night, so I was not happy about that.
Yeah.
But it's warm in Florida, so I'll be here for a little while longer, and then back to the grind for the rest of the year.
That's awesome. Well, this is a great overview. A lot of great new stuff from MSP360. I want to thank everybody for your time today and apologize for our technical difficulties in the beginning, but I think we made up for it with some really awesome new features and new products here from MSP360. Everybody have a great day. Again, David, thank you for your time, and we will talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Bye now.